Welcome to the Greater Purpose Podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to have Jelena Bergan as our guest today. Jelena has been a member since May 2018.
Correct. Yes.
I nailed it. May 2018. And Jelena, what made you start at the gym?
So when I was in the process of moving to Camrose, I was told about CrossFit Camrose or Greater Purpose when I was looking for a gym to go to because I was doing CrossFit in Edmonton at the time. And finding a CrossFit gym was important to me, but a friend of mine had kind of briefly told me about your wife, Julia's story. And I chose the gym based on that, just because her story really resonates with me and it hit really close to home.
So, what would be the story? Because I know Jaleesa shares the story quite a bit. What would be Jaleesa's story that resonated with you? And Jaleesa being my wife.
Yes. So for um, my entire teenage life, I struggled with anorexia and I said I was going to do this without crying, um, and an exercise addiction. Um, and just knowing that I could come to a place where there's somebody who had fought the battle and had success was just really comforting to me. Um, I went to Edmonton to recover for my eating disorder and had never really fully dealt with um, my relationship with my body and um, thoughts towards what the purpose of exercise is. So, just getting the opportunity to work with your wife has been
Mhm.
kind of an amazing thing.
And you just mean work, like you're doing the nutrition programs?
Yeah. So, um, I remember the first time that I told it was actually you. So you probably don't remember this, but I remember it being like a 5:30 class and I think you were vacuuming or something.
I do remember
And
this.
okay, and everybody was gone and I just was like eager to talk to your wife, but she wasn't there. And so I was like, "Hey, like I'm kind of interested in the nutrition program, just like poking around, trying to subtly bring it up." And then all of a sudden it just happened like verbal diarrhea where I was like, "Yeah, this is my story." And I remember your first reaction being like, "Hey, can I pray with you?" And that forever has just stuck with me. Like
Mm.
the fact that you guys just like cared that much to just like stop vacuuming, and I know how much you love
I
vacuuming.
do love
um
vacuuming.
to just be able to like take that time and be there. And I know, and I remember that night. So you gave my phone number to Jaleesa, and she called me. And I think um, between the two of us, we cried enough to fill an ocean with our tears. But that was the moment that I was like, okay, God brought me to Camrose for a reason. Like, He brought me to this gym, not because it was a CrossFit gym. He brought me because there was a greater purpose.
Yes. And it's
Yeah.
funny how we haven't really talked about exercise yet. And maybe that's it, right? It's the community. And it sounds like, and I do remember that night, just so you know. And I'm glad I stopped vacuuming for you and to pray
Yes.
with you there. And I think that's really important. And it's important that you touched on that because it's more than just bicep curls or power cleans or deadlifts. Very important for the body. But
Yeah.
it's mind, body, spirit. It's everything. And you touched on that feeling, that community. And how important has that been for you?
It's been probably the biggest reason that I've stayed like working out with the community throughout COVID. I know it'd be so easy to just be like, well, I'll work out on my own. But just having that online support group when we weren't in person
Mm.
was something that I needed. And I thrive off that, just knowing that there's people holding me accountable, but they're not just people that you work out with. These are people that are like cheering you on, and they celebrate the wins with you, and they're the ones who are like screaming "Go, Jelena!" at the end of the workout when you're like, "If I do one more burpee, I'm going to scream." So they're just more than people that you see every day. They're like family, to not sound cheesy or anything.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think that's cheesy. Um, I think that's powerful. And to describe community in that way, it's everything. It is correcting movement. It's pushing you to the end, however you want to be pushed. So being that exercise addiction and eating disorders are really prevalent, especially right now, I think it's getting worse, especially in the younger generation who are exposed to social media more and more.
Mhm.
Um, what would you what would you say to yourself before? What would you say to someone
Um,
else?
so I would say tell somebody, tell
Mm,
anyone. Just keeping it to yourself is probably the worst thing, because it just makes it or it isolates you more. So um, an eating disorder thrives off of isolation. So COVID is the best time for anorexia and eating disorders to thrive, because you have an excuse to not be in public and not eat, and you can overexercise and nobody's going to tell you to stop. And if I were to talk to somebody that was struggling, I would just like give them a hug,
yeah,
and tell them that like it's okay. It's not easy, but um, lots of people have been there, and I was super hesitant to do this podcast because I haven't really shared a lot of my past. But uh, I was in a meeting with Jaleesa, I think last week or the week before, and as per usual, we were crying. And she just mentioned that sometimes sharing your story isn't about you, and it's about the person that's listening to it. And I think from the moment that I started focusing on recovery, that's been my goal. My goal has been, I just want to help someone, even if it's one person.
yeah.
I just want to be able to make a difference.
I think that's massive, and thank you for being courageous and sharing. It's hard, but I do believe these things can be good. They can be a gift. They can be a gift to other people because, well, you and Jaleesa have been through the same thing, and you can talk about this stuff where a lot of people can't, right? Like even people who study it, they they haven't always been through it, and you can
Mhm.
talk in a different way. You can say like, "This is where I was." Like I didn't even think about that isolation thing being something that could accelerate it or make it harder. I think
Yeah.
that's really important, and I'm glad Jaleesa pushed you to start sharing. And
Mhm.
it's true. It's and it, you might not know if you've impacted anyone. You might not know that, but
Yeah.
I guarantee you will have. There'll be a seed planted. There'll be hey, maybe it might just be like we had that interaction. I said, "Hey, you want the phone number? Like you want to just message Jaleesa?"
Yep.
And there's a theme. I continue to. I guess I've just noticed I keep telling all the guests to share their story that they don't really want to share. So that's what it's about. And I so since I have you here and we're already talking about it, what what has helped you continue in the recovery or continue not going back to that place?
Well, honestly, I'd say where I'm at today isn't perfect.
Yeah.
I'm still in the process of learning to love me. And um, the biggest thing is reaching out for help and utilizing that help. So, for instance, like checking in with your wife Still doing the nutrition program with her, has been a huge lifesaver because she challenges me from a perspective of somebody who knows what's kind of going through my head. So it's scary when you reach out to that person because inside everything is telling you, oh crap, now we're screwed because this person's going to hold me accountable.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's so important to have that person that is almost like a neutral third party. So I can tell her anything about what happens in the day, and she's still going to be like, okay, so let's try this next time, instead of being like, well, that's dumb. Why don't you just do this? So
Mm.
it helps that she gets it from her own side, but also is looking in from the outside, not as like a family member or somebody.
Yep. Yeah, I can speak into that a little bit. And being that when Jaleesa went through hers, I was the one that kind of noticed it and I was there the whole time. So
Mhm, mhm.
if you want any couples out there that want marriage advice, try not to be the one always being keeping someone accountable when they're going through that.
Or
But
a parent.
yeah, it's hard. And I think that's also the thing too, is that parents, spouses, it's challenging for you guys too, or for us, right? There's a whole other side to that.
Yeah. And it's hard because I don't see what they go through, or feel what they are feeling. And there's been a lot of like guilt and shame come up because what have I done as a daughter to my parents, or like what I've put them through and put my sister through. And so just working through all that is a whole
Mm.
process, but you also have to give them time too because they were watching you go through this.
Yep.
So it's I'd say frustrating at times because you're like, I'm working on it. Why can't you just get over it? But I don't know what it was like from their perspective.
Right. And I think that's, I guess, from my side, because I was on the other side of it with Jaleesa, it's very challenging. It's very challenging to see someone go through something like that. And when you can see exactly what's happening, and in my mind, as an example, I'm like, why don't you just not do that? Like, why
Yeah.
don't you just eat some food and not exercise as much?
Oh,
Not that I
yeah.
would say exactly like that, just so everyone knows, don't do that.
Yeah. Number one, just don't do
Just don't do that.
that.
Yeah. And you touched on something too early on, is loving your body, or
Yeah.
I think everyone struggles with that. Even if it's not to that extreme
Yes.
that you're
Yeah.
talking about, we all, there's this image set out in front of us that
Yeah.
once we attain this image, we will truly be happy, just like in the magazine. Once we have the
Hmm.
six pack, we'll be
Hmm.
super happy and everything's awesome and everyone will love me.
Yeah.
False.
False.
Yeah.
Um, it was funny because we were doing a workout the other week and it was running and snatches, so two of my least favorite things. And I remember feeling like so good after that workout. Like
Mm.
not um like physically tired, but like I did something, I accomplished something, my body feels like strong. And I had sent your wife a text and I said, I love today's workout, not because I was burning calories, but to
Mm.
like work out and see what my body can do. And I don't know, having that aha moment was almost like, I don't know, like revolutionary in my mind because exercise previously was always associated with burning off the food.
Right.
And knowing that I feel my body because I love it and I work out because I want to see what it can do. And when I see what it can do is it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. What you just said about basically feeling confident and capable in your body, not because of what it looks like,
Yes.
but because you're using it for what it was designed to do. You're
Yeah.
moving, you're strong,
Yeah.
and you are strong.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's really powerful. And not even just if someone is worried about burning more calories, but even if
Yeah.
someone is feeling like they're stuck on the couch and they want to be able to do all these activities. Like it's a
Yeah.
process, but eventually you just get this point like, oh, I can do things.
Yeah, and, like, even the little things, and that's probably my favorite thing about, greater purpose is, whether your PR is deadlifting 50 pounds or deadlifting 250 pounds, it's
Mm,
celebrated because a PR is a PR, and that's a big deal. And um, just knowing that you have a community around you that's going to rally, whether you just did like a baby weight or a super heavy weight, like it doesn't matter. You hit a PR for you, and that's awesome.
yeah, because it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
My PR compared to someone competing in strongman is not going to be anything to
Yes.
compared to.
Well, it's funny because it's like the first time you start CrossFit, it's like this barbell is insanely heavy. I am How are people adding weight to this? And then you get like years into it and you're like, ha, that's funny. But
Yeah. And I can see your journey with us, like in my
oh.
head, right? Like me being like, "Hey, Jillian, let's go down and wait to fix your deadlift. Like, let's work on
No,
your
that
form and your back." And just yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I coached you, and your form was
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And not that that makes you any better of a person, but it's
No.
just time and consistency.
Well, it makes me less mad at the coach.
Yeah. In our most loving way, we say, "Hey,
Yeah.
no," but even with Jaleesa,
Yeah.
because you guys have similar journeys, I remember seeing her snatch a 45-pound bar for the first time and not being on the elliptical for 2 hours and actually feeling this sense of empowerment, strength. I
Yeah.
was like, yes, she's hooked.
It is something that is really I don't want to say addicting because that feels like that's kind of not the right word, but it gives you an adrenaline high to
Yep.
know that your body is strong and I'm doing things for my body because I love them, not because I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just going into exercise with that mindset um, just changes the way that you see yourself afterwards.
It's empowering.
Yes, yes.
And just like anything, like any good thing can turn into addiction. It,
Mm,
when passions become obsessions,
yes.
like I worked out 7 days a week, 2 hours a day for a couple of years, but mine didn't really manifest and no one could really call me on it. But I'm sure I had an exercise addiction too.
Yeah.
It's yeah, passions can become obsessions pretty quickly.
Hmm.
So, what you talked about people celebrating around you. What goals
Hmm.
have you achieved since being at the gym, or
Um,
accomplishments, milestones?
okay, let me just pull up my notes here because I did take notes
Oh
because
yeah.
I'm that person.
I know there's
Um,
one picture where you're doing a pull up in the open. That's an epic
oh
picture.
yes, and that is a pretty epic picture because that
Yeah.
picture makes my biceps look great.
Oh yeah. It's all about the biceps.
So, I would say that this is more of like a twofold answer. So I'd say, it's one of the goals that I had was to be able to saddle my horse, which is
Okay.
funny, but I could barely get the saddle, like lift it and get it next to her. And now I just like chuck it on her, like no big deal. And that would be my physical, I guess, accomplishment. But my mental accomplishment would probably be today. Um,
Oh, cool.
just knowing that, like, this is gonna sound super like momish, but sharing is caring. And knowing that, like, if you're sharing your skills and abilities with people, or you're sharing your story, you're sharing your sense of humor or your
Mhm.
house or whatever, maybe not in COVID, but um, just sharing with people makes a difference. And just listening to some of the other podcasts and talking to other members, it's so impactful to hear their stories and you don't even realize it. Like when you're sharing your story, you don't realize what you're really providing other people with. So mentally, I'd say that like greater purpose has provided me with um, the ability to share.
That is awesome. I love how you said that. And it's like you read or listen to some of the stuff. I don't know if you have or not, but that's why I love to talk about that. We have these
Yes.
gifts, we have these things that have just been given to us that we are meant to share, right?
Yeah.
Some are really good at public speaking, some are really good at motivating, some people are really funny. Like there's so many different gifts and talents that people
Mhm.
suppress, and stories are these gifts too. Like,
Yeah.
and stories
And it's
come through hard
weird to
times.
think about a struggle and like this time in my life that was like felt impossible as being a gift, but it is because it's my platform, I guess, to talk to people, but also to like relate to them on a real level. Like, hey, I'm human too, and
Yeah.
I've been through some valleys.
I have goosebumps because you're saying all the words I like. Platforms. Yeah, it 100% is a platform. Your job is a platform. Your relationships are platform. Your story is a platform to share. And that's the whole, like, behind the name, greater purpose. Like there's a
Yeah.
greater purpose behind all these things. And like you said, it's really hard in the moment to be like, I don't see any good in this. I don't see anything good that could come from gyms right now in this moment through
Yeah.
COVID, right?
Yeah.
But there will be, and especially if you look for it, and especially if you'll see it eventually.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Like forward to the greater purpose is of your struggle is really hard. I think that was one of the things that really motivated me, along with my stubborn personality that just doesn't give up. But to get through, like in a recovery program, I just remember being there, being like angry and mentally exhausted, but like looking towards, okay, my goal is I want to talk to women one day. I want to talk to kids one day and say, like, you can do this. And as much as like everything inside me was saying, just give up, that was my motivating factor to just keep going.
You're doing it today.
It
You're
feels so weird.
talking, right? Does it feel surreal or?
Well, I'm awfully sweaty, so I'm glad that it's a podcast.
And
I feel
yeah,
like I just did a workout.
I think the more we share our stories and our struggles or successes, there's a deeper meaning behind it. And who knows? Maybe you have helped someone find someone or reach out to someone else, or you've motivated them to know that you are
Mhm.
worth more than what your body does or does not look like.
Yeah, yeah.
Just use your body, just be proud of it, and start moving and playing and finding a community of people that, I like the word play. Like that's essentially what we're doing when we exercise, right?
I feel like at CrossFit, it's mostly just playing.
Yeah.
Even if like, especially if you put my playlist on, like Starship 130 BBM, I am playing.
Starship 130. I haven't actually listened to it yet. I just have heard that it's your jam.
Well, I think the first
Jams.
time they played it was a quality workout, and I was singing so loudly to it. Gates was upstairs, and he had his headphones in, and he came down and was like, "I could hear you." It's like, "Oh, okay."
Yes. That's good. That's joy. So, Jelena, what would you tell someone who is thinking of joining a gym?
Obviously, join Greater Purpose, move
Well,
to Camrose.
yeah.
I would tell them it's not about the gym; it's about the community. So if it's maybe like a smaller gym, but there's like amazing people, that's more important than, I guess, don't judge a gym by its cover. Um, but it's all about the community. And for me, I find with my background, working out as a group, it holds me accountable and it's not isolating myself. Whereas previously, exercise was always done in secret and in private. And finding a community to support you, encourage you, and motivate you to hit goals that you didn't even think you could hit is key. I think, when you're looking for a gym.
Awesome. Love it. So when have you noticed one, you mentioned one thing, saddling your horse, right? That's what you said
Yes.
you've been
Yeah.
able to do.
Yeah.
So what are some other things in everyday life you've noticed have improved?
Um, let's see. Well, my squatting form is quite great because, yeah, I when I was hunting, I remember loading this very heavy dead deer, sorry, animal lovers, into the back of the truck.
Yep.
And I was like squatting, not wanting to bend my back. And I was hunting with my friend's dad, and he just said, "You must work out because that was perfect form." And I was like, "Thanks." I
You
was like,
know,
"I'm just no big deal."
but that's huge, right? It's you get strong in the gym so you can thrive outside of the gym.
Yeah, so you can throw dead animals into a truck.
Yeah. We won't use that in the excerpt, but same thing.
Yeah, maybe don't put that as the quote.
Jelena, is there anything else you'd like to add or anything else you feel like want to say?
No, not that I can think of. I kind of covered all my notes that I took.
Well, thank you for using this platform as the first time sharing your story. And that takes a lot of courage and vulnerability. And it's going to, I know it's going to impact people. And if people want to reach out or follow you, how do they do this?
How do they do this? Well, text me anytime. Um,
Or you give your
I
phone number.
sure give it out there.
Yeah.
I I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, give me a follow on Instagram or add me on Facebook, and I'd be more than willing to chat.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes.
Perfect.
Awesome, Jelena. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
See you at the gym.